number 9.
Oh boy. We're finally here, huh? Oh great. Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Play Mighty Number 9. Genuine question, why are the development logos the only blocked scene on the game on PlayStation 4 and 5? I don't know why. So to say this game's legacy is infamous at this point is an understatement. So let's just get into it. I'm going to be playing with maxed out lives just to make this as painless as possible for me. And we're going to be playing on normal mode because it's the base difficulty, though the 3 harder difficulties are here for you, though I think some of these aren't unlocked until you've beaten the game on normal mode to begin with, so, eh.
It is the present year.
Fantastic writing up the bat.
Breakthroughs in robotic technology have ushered in a new era of peace and prosperity. Violence is confined to the Battle Coliseum, where robot combatants face off in spectacular duels. Today, the Coliseum walls once again echo with the shouts and cheers of excited fans, when suddenly...
System ready? Go!
Professor! Back. And functioning normally, it would appear. What on earth has happened? It's chaos everywhere. Well, we won't figure it out here. We must make for the laboratory, and quickly! Beck, you forge ahead and clear a secure path. I'll follow and monitor your progress. Yes, sir.
And the game begins. So Mighty Number 9, because it was a Kickstarter project led by Keiji Inafune, is his attempt to make his own Mega Man games, essentially again, after he left Capcom back in the early 2010s. The base movement isn't honestly that bad. I do think Beck could move a little faster, but thankfully you at least have a dash to get around that.
Once again, the president has declared a countrywide state of emergency. This based on reports of haywire robots rampaging out of control in all 52 states. I'm being told we have a comment from Gregory Graham, CEO of Cherry Dynamics. Cherry Dyne, of course, being the world's leading robot manufacturer. Let's go there now, live.
Attention! Attention! Is this thing on? Oh. My fellow Americans, in this time of crisis, we at Cherry Dyne would just like to express that this isn't our fault. It's that Dr. Blackwell. He's the one behind this. Blame him! We at Cherry Dyne are doing all we can to help fix the situation. It's Blackwell. Hello, is this thing on?
Avi?
And now let's go live to our Eye in the Sky Avi for today's Avi News Traffic Report. Thanks, Avi. As you can see, we've got a few accidents eastbound on, well, everywhere!
Mighty Number 6! What does he think he's doing? Unless... could he be malfunctioning too?
You might think this amount of dialogue is just because it's the intro stage. No.
Uh-oh. A security bot. And it's out of control, like all the others. Beck, there's no other way. You'll need to fight your way through. You can handle this. I know you can. Professor, I'll do it.
Here we have the game's main mechanic. You weaken enemies and then have to dash into them to actively defeat them.
Beck, did you just absorb the cells of a weakened robot and... my goodness, assimilate them? Of course, I designed him with that capability, but I hadn't thought it functional yet. Why now?
Or more accurately, you can defeat them if you shoot them enough, but in order to get a good score in a combo, you need to actively dash into them. This is actively the thing you want to do as well, because some enemies will give you attack bonuses, speed, walking speed bonuses, or even refill your special weapons down the line by dashing into them. So you want to get the combo going and keep moving, essentially, in this one. I don't mind this idea on the whole, especially because once you actively get a good flow going and are consistently dashing through enemies, it does start to feel good to execute that well. But there's points where it just feels at odds with the level design.
Dr. Zonda's calling. Zonda, what's the matter?
Good! What's the matter? What the bleeding heck do you think's the matter? Are you okay, Will?
Oh, fine. Fine. More or less. And yourself?
Less than fine. Much less. These robots gone wild are tearing the place apart. I've sealed myself in the lab, but who knows how long before they break through?
Understood. We're already on our way. You try to hold them off as best you can.
Frequently throughout the game's levels, you're going to have sections like this where you just have to get through a mob of enemies very quickly. This is a good place to boost your score if you're going for achievements, but you really shouldn't. But it's very often in these sections you're going to see the buffs that enemies can drop come in handy. Depends on the color of the Zells they have. Red Zells will give you an attack boost. The yellow one above Beck right now is a defense boost. A green buff, if you get it, is a speed boost, but also below Beck's health bar you can see a blue circle. That is an XL recovery. It's an energy tank, essentially.
Beck, we've no time to waste. Calculate the fastest possible route to the lab.
If you have one of those, though, make sure you use it, because if you die when you have an XL recovery, you lose it. So if you're fighting a boss and you're thinking, alright, I'll just get on the next round, no, use your XL boost and keep trying. So Beck's dash does have a little more toolkit to it in that you can actively use it to duck between certain corridors, but something you should note, and the game does note this, there is a separate dash when you hold down on the ground, and you do dash slightly lower because of that. So at any point in the game, hold down and right to the side when you're moving, just in case.
Right, the lab is just ahead. Zonda, are you still there? Have the robots torn you to pieces?
Criminy! Tactful as always, William. I'm here, but for Pete's sake, hurry!
With that, time for our intro stage, boss.
What was that? A demolition unit. How on earth did it manage to get down there? Beck, quickly! You must stop it before it destroys the entire laboratory!
So the way boss fights in this game work is you need to take out their HP in phases. You shoot it until they start flashing with Zells and their health bar starts flashing, and then you dash into them to keep that HP gone. The Round Digger doesn't have too many attacks. I think it can cling to the ceiling, it can fire lasers at the ground or ceiling, and when it fires at the ceiling, rocks will fall like the boss fight in Mega Man 01. But otherwise, just mash fire into its face, do occasional dashes, and this will be over really quickly.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
Mission clear!
At the end of every stage, your score is tallied and you get ranked from, I believe, D to S rank. This is going to be an all A rank run, but it's only really for achievements in the game. You don't get any rewards for your score and all that. This game does have a score attack element, which the Gunvolt games also like to do, so it's a bit of a thing I think Inafune just likes to have.
Zonda, are you alright?
Will! Beck! Thank goodness. But where are the other mighty numbers?
Well, based on empirical evidence, I believe they might be suffering from this robot affliction that's going around.
Crikey! It's like every bot in America went completely nuts all at once. Let me contact my brother at the head office in Tokyo. Maybe he can send help.
I'm sorry, Soichiro. Please understand. The Japanese government won't let us intervene until we know the cause of the malfunctions.
I was afraid of that. But it makes sense. After all, any robots you send to help could be affected as well, making things even worse.
Just to confirm, Mr. Zonda, if we can isolate the cause of the robot rampage, you'll send aid?
Absolutely, Professor White. Anything we can do. Did you have a plan in mind?
Yes, we'll send Beck to track down all his fellow mighty numbers. Great idea! Wait, what? His assimilation ability should filter any irregularities from his siblings' programming. If we can gather and study multiple samples, perhaps we can isolate the cause of the problem.
It's a long shot, but it's our only hope. The fate of the entire country hangs in the balance. I'll finish reactivating Cole so she can provide support. Let's get to it!
Professor, Not to worry, Beck. This is well within your capabilities.
All right, quit your lollygagging. It's up to us to stop those rampaging bots.
As you can see, the cutscenes in this game leave a lot to be desired, visual-wise. Honestly, in retrospect, now that Mega Man 11's out, I think they probably should have just done illustrated comic cutscenes like the ones at the intro of that, instead of in-engine, because I think that could have done a lot more personality-wise, because I do like this game's character designs. It's just that the models and the way they use them leave a lot to be desired. So here is your main hub. It's you go for your options, your achievement checks and all that, but it's also your level select.
New tips are added as the game progresses. Be sure to check back and view them regularly.
The tip screen is where every mechanic in the game is actually explained because they do a very poor job of conveying anything in the actual levels. But here's our level select. You can select any of the main 8 levels in the game with mighty numbers 1 through 8 in the intro stage at the moment. If you have the DLC installed, which I don't at the time of this recording, you can do that from there. We're going to start with mighty number 5, Battalion. Let's hear an explanation.
Mighty number 5, Battalion, has fled to this abandoned military installation. Purpose unknown.
You might think there was some audio desync there. No, for some reason in the explanations, the text scrolls really slowly while the audio proceeds as normal, and it gets weirdly disorienting and almost gives me a weird form of motion sickness I can't quite describe. With that, though, it's time for us to start Battalion's level. Let's have our first big dialogue chunk.
What is this place?
A military base they shut down years ago. It should be all but empty inside.
Beck, I'm reading multiple robot signatures ahead. Proceed with caution.
Here we go.
I'd explain things, but we got more dialogue coming up in, like, now.
What in the Sam Hill? Those are clearly military bots.
And should have been scrapped as part of the disarmament. Or was that all a government ruse? Then that means that
I don't mind the characters talking inherently. It's just the amount they do when you're playing the stage that can get a little distracting at points. I don't mind it too much when I'm playing, but commentating over it because of how I do things, it just gets annoying pacing-wise. I think they should have just done the Mega Man X6 Beyond thing where you could just enter that conversation with, like, the select button at certain points, and that would have been a little better. Yeah, you'd be standing still, but at least it wouldn't be potentially distracting you. So this stage's big thing is having a bunch of explosives. And those explosives can be used to not only damage yourself, of course, but they can damage enemies, making them easy targets for dashing into to grab the Zells. Or to even get rid of boxes in your way, but you need to be careful because sometimes you want to use those boxes for platforms. Notably, whenever you see something pink and shiny like those, it's instant kill. So those are the instant kill Mega Man spikes, and this game does have the Mega Man 1 thing, weirdly, where even if you're in the middle of invincibility frames, falling on instant death hazards will still kill you. So be careful with that.
The doors! I'm trapped!
Is that fear in your voice, Private Beck? A robot soldier does not feel fear. A robot soldier does not feel pain. Now fight on like you got guts. Beck, we're working on unsealing those doors. Try to hold on.
Otherwise, this stage doesn't have a lot going on besides being a lot of enemy rushes. There are some conveyor belts down the line, but that's not much to write home about. Let's talk about voice actors really quick. Most of this voice cast is well known, like famously Beck is Yuri Lowenthal, who is one of those voice actors people just sort of know. Insomniac Spider-Man, Simon in Gurren Lagann, Suzaku in Code Geass. You know him, you've heard him in things. Dr. White, which slight sounded like to a certain other doctor's name, by the way, is voiced by Jason Spisak, who I remember as the kid from Transformers R.I.D. 2001. But he's been Deadpool a bunch and voiced a lot of other characters in other Marvel animated projects over the years. Dr. Sanda is voiced by Dave Wittenberg, who is dubbed Kakashi from Naruto. I think he was Kefka in the Dissidias. I think he was PS2, Teddy in Persona 4. And my favorite of his role is just from how much I love that game. He's Don Leon in the first Artanelico. I think he's also Leon in one of the Castlevanias. Mr. Graham is Scott White, who was Jazz in Transformers War for Cybertron, but I know him best as Crow Armbrust from Trails of Cold Steel. Call is voiced by Julie Nathanson, who is Belle from Beauty and the Beast and a lot of the other projects that aren't directly the movie. But I know her best as the aunt from Ape Escape 3's American release. And the voice of Battalion, the boss we're currently going after, is Brian T. Delaney in English, whose biggest claim to fame is that he is the voice for Wreck-It Ralph in anything that's not the actual movies. He's been in a lot of other scattered roles here and there, especially in some various Marvel animated things. The voice actors inherently, honestly, do okay. The bad performances and deliveries here and there are, I can guarantee, just due to bad direction. Now, something to note about Beck. Control-wise, he can kind of pull a Samus from Metroid Fusion and cling onto corners, but not every corner can be grabbed onto. Conveyor belts, for instance, can't be. It's especially if you see notches in the walls, you can climb onto those. And you're going to need to do that over a lot of bottomless pits, so be careful. Those are landmines I'm jumping over, by the way. Be careful of those, because they hurt.
You got guts, maggot, I'll give you that. But you're too late. Attention all hands! Commence the invasion! Let loose the dogs of war! Charge!
Sprinter! I'm picking up large clusters of robots headed toward the city from your location.
What in tarnation? Is he trying to start a war? Beck, you've gotta hurry!
We're on it! Also, you saw it there a little bit. Beck's dash does have a pretty generous hitbox on how far away you can be from things and still absorb their Zells. But also, his Buster Shots can actively penetrate a lot of smaller enemies and thinner enemies. So you can use that to just rack up combos and keep your dash going. Because if you dash through an enemy, your dash does get slightly extended. And you can use that to ignore certain terrain like this if you're taking top routes. And weirdly, that's one of the more frustrating things about the game in a weird way, in that there are flashes where the level design in this game feels really good to blast through with your abilities. But then a lot of the rest of the game, it just doesn't feel great at all. Also, incoming transition. This game was actually recorded via a live stream for me, so there are points where I actively did pause to take a break, and you might see them here and there.
So, maggot, you crawled all the way here. What is your major malfunction, Private Beck? Why would you try and stop this glorious war? Fighting is in our programming. It's in our circuits. It's what we were made for. Battle is our destiny!
Battalion can be a bit of a hard boss, not so for most of his attacks, it's just for one of them. Attack-wise, he can fire his chain gun in a couple different volleys that will generally aim for you. You can, say, dash around them, jump over them, and all that. You can fire missiles around the ground that you then need to dash over, because the moment you go over them, they try to move up into you. But the big thing is he will go to the far left or right side of the field and dig his spikes into the ground and activate his gun head and fire a gigantic bullet across the screen. That bullet will do enough damage to kill you in a lot of cases to begin with, yes, but the bullet will then lodge itself into the far side of the wall and start blinking. It will then eventually explode. That explosion, I believe, is a guaranteed instant kill on that entire side of the field, so stay close to Battalion or as far away from that bullet as you can to avoid it. This fight can be rough. There's a couple of bosses that have some instant kill moves that are not fun to fight against, honestly. This is probably the easiest one of those to avoid in the long run, though. Just make sure to dash into any boss as soon as you can to maximize your damage, because otherwise you're going to lose out.
Come on! Snap out of it! Now!
My army. The war must be stopped, Private Beck.
Mission clear.
Also, remember what I said about this being an all A rank run? I actually forgot about this stage. I do edit out some deaths in the LP, namely at boss fights, because I forget to use my XL recovery in a lot of cases. Battalion stage, though, isn't too much to write home about. It's a pretty easy stage. Battalion himself is the biggest pain there because of his instant kill. And now we get our first reselection. These are our Mega Man Robot Master weapons, essentially, and Battalion's is the reason I went for him first, because it's Metal Blade level of ridiculous.
Jiminy! Atta boy, Beck! Come on, Will. Show a bit of enthusiasm.
Perhaps you should show a bit of restraint, Dr. Sanda. This is only the beginning. Cole, please transfer Beck's assimilated cell data over to my terminal. I want to begin my analysis and see if I can isolate the root of the malfunction.
Right away, Professor White.
Incidentally, Sanda, I caught a bit of news on the way here. The president of Cherry Dynamics was insisting the source of the incident is Dr. Blackwell.
What? Poppycock! Blackwell is a genius, but he couldn't possibly be behind this.
You must admit, there are similarities to his last plot to shut down every robot in America.
You mean how they both originated at the Battle Coliseum? But he was caught and arrested. Even Blackwell isn't clever enough to pull this off from inside a maximum security prison.
Indeed. I wonder why Mr. Graham seems so certain. Well, enough of that. There's data to sift through. Sanda, can you continue assisting Beck?
Absolutely. Let me know as soon as you discover anything.
So the kind of annoying thing about getting new abilities in this game is that in order to figure out what they do, you do need to come over here to the tip menu to read their actual details. I think they should have just had a demonstration just to give a good visual of it, honestly. Just like, you know, any given Mega Man game starting from at least Mega Man 4 on? Reselection Battalion. Remote cannon. Hold down the attack button to send a cannon shell flying forward. Release the button to detonate it. Damage from the explosion will linger in the detonation area for a short time. The shell will stay attached to enemies or terrain until it is detonated. Take advantage to land some well-timed attacks. The shell will detonate automatically after a certain distance, or if the object attached to is destroyed. If you release the attack button immediately after firing, the shell won't detonate until you press the attack button again. The explosive power doesn't change, so use this to your advantage. Certain objects can only be destroyed with this attack. XL shoot effects, increased attack, greater explosion area, less energy use. Also notably, you can shortcut up to 3 specific reselections to specific buttons to just change to those automatically. Otherwise, you do need to scroll through your reselections by the end game to get to the one you want. But with that, I'm gonna need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, may God have mercy on my soul, and in part 2, we'll be taking out a couple of other mighty numbers. See you guys then.